evening and welcome to RTD's English News Edition. The headlines. The head of state received a strong UN delegation this morning at the presidential palace. New fire incident in Belbela, 7 houses was burned at the 40th arrondissement. And on the International News, the Security Council of the United Nations meets tomorrow. Those are the top stories, and thanks for joining us in our newsroom. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, has received today, Sunday, a high-level delegation of the United Nations system at the Presidential Palace. The latter was composed of the Director General of the World Health Organization, WHO, Dr. Tedros Adhanom, the Executive Director of the World Food Programme, WFP, Mr. David Beasley, and the Executive Director of the UNICEF, Mr. Anthony Lake. The state of collaboration between the Republic of Djibouti and the United Nations has been extensively dealt with during the course of this meeting. This hearing also served the UN officials to brief the head of state of Djibouti on the crops undertaken at the level of the cooperation of the United Nations system in order that its various agencies provide the best possible assistance to the partners' governments. It should be noted also the presence of the Djiboutian Minister of the Interior, Hassan Omar Mohammed. The Director General of the WHO, the Executive Director of the WFP, and their colleagues in charge of the UNICEF have all at the end of their meeting with the President Guelleh welcomed the valuable assistance that the Republic of Djibouti brings to the international community. Here's what they said.
The World Health Organization of the United Nations, UNICEF, and the World Food Programme coming together. That is extraordinary, but it says and sends a very strong signal to the world the importance that we play, that we consider in terms of Djibouti. The President, the government, and the people of Djibouti are to be thanked for their commitment and what they're doing to improve health care and the quality of lives for the families and the children here in Djibouti, but also the role that they're playing in saving millions of lives in Yemen, because this port, this region with the leadership here allows us access to provide the food, the medicine, the sanitation necessary to save lives in Yemen. The third most significant factor, though, is that Djibouti, because of the leadership here, we have a confidence in the leadership here, the President, the government, so we consider this to be a hub that's strategic in so many ways for this entire region of Africa. And so we use this hub for shipping, for transporting, logistics, which brings in hundreds of jobs, thousands of jobs, investments that has a long-term impact that will sustain a quality of life here that everybody will benefit from. So we're very grateful for the leadership, for the President of Djibouti, and that's why you have these 3 leaders within the United Nations coming here to give a thanks and to bring attention to what is a world crisis in Yemen. So,
around 3 weeks ago, so I'm glad to start from Djibouti. It's a privilege, and I join Tony in commending the government for the changes we see in reducing under-5 mortality, maternal mortality, and not only that, especially the universal health coverage that the government committed, and the universal insurance, health insurance system that started in 2014. We have agreed on speeding up that, and for WHO to support the government based on its priorities, and also on building the national capacity in order to sustain the gains that the government had already made. But in addition to that, we thanked him also for the support this government is giving to Yemen in all aspects, and the next trip will be to Yemen from here, and the President Ismail Gille promised to even increase his support to Yemen.
As for the Executive Director of UNICEF, Mr. Anthony Lake, has expressed himself as the following.
Yes, we did, and we had a very, very good meeting with him. The three of us thanked him both on our behalf and on the behalf of the people of Yemen for all the support that Djibouti has offered in the shipments and in other ways to Yemen. And then we talked about, of course, the progress that Djibouti has made in so many areas, such as in reducing the number of children who are dying before their 5th birthday. But we also discussed all that still can be done. And we talked about how we can support the President and the government in helping the people of Djibouti as Djibouti expands its economy, to make sure that the people are benefiting from that as well, and especially the children, because by 2035, with the Vision 2035 that the President has laid out, it is the people and the children who will sustain this development and keep it going. And I think I can speak for all of us that we are very pleased and offered our support for everything that the government is planning to do in the coming years.
Djiboutian Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohammed Mahmoud, who took part in this meeting, also reacted to the micro of the press. He welcomed the interests of the United Nations for our country. Djibouti realizes today the feat to host, at the same time to remove the most senior officials of the United Nations system, he has pointed out. This esteem for our country began from its ability to reconcile the value of a modern society in face with all forms of requirements, particularly in terms of human rights and humanitarian assistance, has indicated the minister. A new fire incident took place this afternoon at the 40th arrondissement of Belbela. The fire was mastered quickly thanks to the rapid intervention of the firemen of Belbela and firefighters from Djibouti who came in reinforcement. Fortunately, no victims have been declared, but a firefighter has been slightly injured. According to the first information, 6 to 8 houses have been damaged by the fire. After the mastery of the fire, the Director of the Civil Protection, Mahmoud, has reacted to the micro to congratulate the rapid intervention of the firefighters of Belbela who came in reinforcement. He also congratulated the National Police for the establishment of a security force and thanked the population who have actually facilitated the intervention of the fire department to extinguish the fire, unlike the last time. He said, according to the colonel, 6 to 8 houses were damaged by the fire of this afternoon. The spread of the fire was also stopped by the buildings. It is the 4th fire which Belbela last Thursday, and 3 have ravaged more than 180 houses in Belbela. In this period of heat and strong winds, according to the colonel, vigilance remains an obligation. The assistance for the losses of the 3 fire incidents of Belbela continues and has been submitted to the committee of the organizations to support the families. It is as well that today at noon, the representative of the society, MSG Group Royal, has granted a donation of foodstuff for the benefit of victims. This donation is composed of boxes of tomatoes, pasta and oil. It has been submitted to the president of the commune of Belbela, Wabri Nour Eleye. Mr. Mohammed Said Gedi announced that this donation will relieve a part of the victims of these fire incidents in Belbela. In the rest of this edition's news, in the framework of the implementing the project of the new railway Djibouti-Addis Ababa, the Joint Ministerial Commission responsible for the operationalization of the railway has held its second meeting in Addis Ababa from 20 to 21st July 2017. The meeting was co-chaired by Mr. Ahmed Soufiane, Ethiopian Minister of the Prime Minister's Office, and Mr. Mohammed Abdul Qadir Musa, Minister of Equipment and Transport of the Republic of Djibouti. In the presence of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Equipment and Transport, Said No Hassan, Director General of the railway companies, the electricity companies, immigration, customs, and other officials of the administrations and public institutions of the two countries. The meeting was focused on several issues, including the electrification of the line, pricing, the placing in the service of the posts of common control, the connections with the port of the logistic centers in Djibouti as in Ethiopia, and other topics of magnitude capitals. The experts of the two countries in charge of these issues have been referred to the Commission of the last work's state of progress. According to the information collected, the test phase of electric trade has started since several weeks and continues until now. The work of connections with the port terminals have well advanced, and the members of the Ministerial Committee welcome the net progress in the advancement of the last works of the effective implementation of the new railway.
Minister Ahmed Shide, he just got the draft. So it is very important if the two ministers sit together, establish a technical team without making it public, because ultimately it has to be approved by the joint ministerial committees. We can agree on the principle of the tariff. First of all, the whole purpose of investing in railway is basically to make the cost of transport competitive for the two countries. It should contribute to the efficiency of our economies. So it must be very, very competitive.
In speaking for this occasion, the Djiboutian Minister of Transport and Equipment has voiced his thoughts in this way.
Education infrastructure, road and railway lines in order to meet the growing needs of the economic exchange of our two peoples. As you know, the Ministerial Committee especially charged with bringing this new railway into operation held its first meeting in Djibouti on 16 April 2017, at the end of which an action plan including point of very high importance and conditioning the putting into operation of the new railways, the line was adopted. I am sure that we have made a significant progress in the accomplishment of the task we have set ourselves to develop a legal and institutional framework for the operation of the new railway, but also the ongoing project works. Today, at the second meeting in Addis Ababa, we will discuss the point of the agenda items and discuss ways and means of making operational at the earliest this largest scale project, and long awaited by the people of the two countries. We also have on the agenda of these 2 days meeting the signing of the protocol agreement governing the activities of the Dawale border post, which complete the bilateral agreement on the operation and maintenance of this major railways project signed on December 8, 2016. Again, I want to thank the Ministers of Transport and His Excellency Soufiane for the warm and fraternal welcomes that have been given to us. I also express my sincere wishes that the work of this Ministerial Committee be successfully achieved.
The Minister of Decentralization, Hamadou Aramis, has chaired on Friday the ceremony of inauguration of a new library in Adeilu in the region of Tejora. This new library, dedicated to the late Dimbio Jilani, has been achieved by the Association Mirror of the Young People of Adeilu in partnership with the NGO EVA with the support of the Ministry of Education and partners such as Hayat Charity, the bookstore Victor Hugo, and the Prefecture of Tejora through the Sub-Prefecture of Adeilu. The inauguration ceremony saw the participation of numerous regional actors and a delegation from the Ministry of Education as well as partners in the entire population of Adailu who mobilized in mass to attend the ceremony. This new library has been dedicated to the late Dimbiyo Jilani, founder and first president of the NGOs, a young person who had to fight for the promotion of economic and social development of the region of Waima. This NGO campaigned actively for the development at regional and national level. The chief village and the president of the association Mirror of Young People of Adailu took the floor during the ceremony to affirm that this library will allow the population of the village to have access to culture and the knowledge by reading. The Minister of Decentralization, Mr. Hamadou Aramis, said that he was pleased to be associated with the inauguration of the new library dedicated to the late Jilani, a pioneer in sustainable development in the sector. The Minister congratulated the members of the association Mirror of the Young People of Adailu for this achievement, which deserves to be encouraged and supported. He said, carrying out an educational structure and a good investment for the future and the development of young people, the Minister has urged the young people to follow in the footsteps of the late Jilani Dimbiyo, who has left a legacy consisting of vision and foresight, of courage and the love for its homeland. The surgical team to the General Hospital Peltier has carried out an operation of surgery called otorhinolaryngology on 20 July 2017 within the operating block of the hospital. This operation was made possible thanks to Djiboutian surgeon Dr. Saad, specialist in surgery of the ENT. In this title, tympanoplasty is a surgical intervention in which the objective is to treat a pathology of the external ear. The patient is admitted to undergo an operation. In this intervention took place under general anesthesia for a duration of 1 hour. It is a microsurgical intervention conducted under operative microscope. And finally, these operations are in the framework of improving the quality care and surgical materials that the Department of Health is undertaking in order to enhance the offered care to the population of Djibouti. And now moving on to Ali Sabih. After the Dikir region, the mobile team of the CNSS in charge of registering moved to Ali Sabih. The latter, led by the responsible of the mobile service Abdurrahman Ahmed Aden, continues to conduct operations for the registrations and issuance of health insurance cards to the many officials and other agents of public services. According to the latter, the individuals covered by their initiative to go in all the heads places of the region of the interior consists of issuing the health card for officials and agents of the state who are not registered up to now, and those who have the card and who have not submitted the members of their family, pensioners who are bedridden, or those who have not been able to come to Djibouti to this effect due to lack of financial means. The members of this mission of CNSS have worked hard at the headquarters of the Regional Council throughout the week. And in Adailu, as we have mentioned, the presence of the Decentralization Minister at the inauguration of a new library in the village of Adailu. The latter has also attended the launch of the sports activities at football match between two teams of the region of Adailu took place. The tournament has been organized by the association MDY, and many sports activities are on the program for this year. Each year, the tournament brings together hundreds who came from the capital and the region of the interior. Also on our sports news, the 80th Francophone Games, in which 4,000 athletes and artists from 53 countries participated in Abidjan on Friday. The games offer competition athletics, handy athletics, women's basketball, men's football, judo, free wrestling, African wrestling, table tennis, and road cycling on demonstration. For starter, the table tennis games were in full swing, where the components were very eager to demonstrate their talents and beat their competition. 7 artistic disciplines are proposed: street arts, as well as the visual arts, song, storytelling, creation, dance, literature, and photography, and ecological creation for development. These games were the opportunity for Abidjan to renovate its sports and cultural enclosures and to build new equipment such as a large sports hall with 2,500 seats. The game village, which hosts the 4,000 participants, was taken out of the ground in 9 months. For Côte d'Ivoire, these games are also a test before the Africa Cup of Nations football, a manifestation of quite another scale which will take place in 2021. Obituary. We regret to announce you the death of Mohamed Kako occurred Friday morning. The deceased was the brother of our colleague, Mrs. Kako, a radio animator in Afar language. The direction and all of the staff of the radio television of Djibouti address their condolences to the family of the deceased. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And on the international news, the United Nations Security Council will meet on Monday to discuss the recent escalation of violence at Al-Haram al-Sharif in occupied East Jerusalem, according to diplomats. Sweden, Egypt and France requested the meeting to urgently discuss how calls for the de-escalation in Jerusalem can be supported. Sweden's Deputy UN Ambassador Carl Sko posted on Twitter. Tensions began to soar after the Israeli authorities imposed restrictive measures on the entry of worshippers into Al-Haram al-Sharif in occupied East Jerusalem. The new restrictive measures include installation of metal detectors at entry points to the Al-Haram al-Sharif. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas ordered the suspension of all official contact with Israel until it removed the metal detectors. The Israeli government has tried to change the demographic makeup of occupied Jerusalem over the past decades by constructing colonies, destroying historical sites and expelling the local Palestinian population. Palestinians say the Israeli measures are aimed at paving the way for the Judaization of the city. The Al-Haram al-Sharif is a flashpoint Islamic state. The mosque is Islam's third holiest site after Mecca, Medina, and Saudi Arabia. And well, this is it for this edition. Thanks for your beloved attention. Have a good night.